Hi guys, I'm the Samantha you'll be stitching with, and today we're going to make a floral initial sweater. The sweater I'm using today is from Amazon. I'll go ahead and put the link in the description for you guys. I found this brand to be really reliable and they have 0 to 5T. Now you're going to need a floral initial pattern. My kit on Etsy comes with this pattern along with all the other supplies that I'm going to talk about today. My patterns are printed on self-adhesive, water-soluble stabilizer, so it comes off like a sticker. You stick it on your sweater and then it dissolves in water. If you're interested in printing these yourself, I do have a how-to guide on my YouTube page for how to print at home, and you can purchase the digital patterns in my Etsy shop. Next, you're going to need a needle. My kits come with a darner's needle and a yarn needle. This is the darner's needle. It's perfect for thinner, smaller yarns. We're going to use bulky yarn today, so I recommend using the yarn needle. It's just easier to pull through and it has a bigger eye. The yarn needles I include in my kit also have a sharper point so that it can pierce through the stabilizer. Next, we're going to talk about yarn. There are a lot of different great yarns for name sweaters and initial sweaters. However, for today, we're going to use a bulky yarn. I love the Hue and Me by Lion brand. This is 5 ounces in weight. This yarn works great for flowers, but you can also use a super bulky yarn if you want them even fluffier. You're also going to need a pair of scissors. To get started, you're going to take your floral initial pattern and you're going to remove it from the backing. Then you're going to stick it on your sweater. Try to place your letter down in the center of the sweater. If you need to, you can use a ruler or you can eyeball it. Next, we're going to thread our yarn needle. You're going to cut a piece of yarn, make it about an arm's length and a half, and then you're going to pinch the yarn in between your fingers and bring it through the eye of the yarn needle. You're going to pull your yarn through about 1/3 of the way, and then you're going to have a little tail hanging down. And then on the longer piece of yarn, you're going to take it and you're going to tie a knot. I like to make about 2 to 3 knots. This ensures that the knot is big enough that it won't come through the back of the sweater. To stitch a flower, we're going to start by making lazy daisy stitches for each petal of the flower. Bring your needle up through the front of the sweater and then bring it back down at the same point that you entered. Make sure that the needle is beside your knot, because if you catch the knot, it will pull it through. Then you're going to pull your yarn so that it leaves a little loop. Bring your needle up to the front of the sweater through the middle of the loop on the outside line of the flower petal. You're going to bring your needle up and pull the yarn taut, and the little loop is going to be caught by that stitch. Next, you're going to bring your needle back down on the outside of the lazy daisy stitch. This is going to secure the loop in place. To stitch a flower, you're going to repeat this process, making a lazy daisy stitch for each petal of the flower. Each time you're going to bring your needle up, then you're going to bring it back down at the same point. You're going to pull it tight so that you leave a loop. Then you're going to bring your yarn needle up through the loop on the outside of the petal, pull it tight, and then bring your needle back down on the outside of the lazy daisy so that it secures it in place. I'm going to continue stitching this flower and then I'll come back. Once all the petals are in place, you're going to move to the back of your sweater and you're going to tie off your yarn. I like to snake it underneath the previous stitches. I will pull it through my stitches one more time, and this time I will snake my needle through the middle of the loop so that it pulls it into a knot. This ensures that it's flatter on the back of the sweater. And then I will snake my needle through the yarn one more time, and then I will cut my yarn. Now we're going to change out our yarn to a different color. I chose a blue yarn from my kit. Once you have knotted your yarn, we're going to bring our yarn needle up through the back of the sweater to the front, and we're going to make sure we go around the different knots on the back of the sweater because we don't want to pull a knot through. We're going to come up through the middle of the flower, and then we're going to pull it all the way through, and then we're going to wrap our needle around our yarn 2 times. Make sure to hold the twisted yarn in place when you're pulling it through. I like to hold it with my left fingers, and then you're going to pull the yarn through and you're going to make sure that you pull it tight enough that it's not too bulky so that it doesn't come loose. You're going to alternate colors of the flowers, so here we're going to stitch the next flower petals in blue. Since it's a short distance, we're going to go ahead and just skip right to the flower. So you're going to pull your yarn needle up, and then you're going to pull it back down where you came up from. Pull your yarn needle all the way through, and then leave a little loop, and then secure the loop in place. You're going to continue stitching lazy daisies for each petal of the flower, and once you're done, we're going to tie off this flower and switch to a new color again. Once we have our third color and we've knotted the yarn, we're going to repeat that process by bringing our needle up and making a French knot in the center of the flower. When you're making a French knot, if your yarn gets caught, go ahead and adjust it before you pull it all the way through. Remember to pull it tight enough so it's not going to come loose over time. Once again, we're going to move to the next flower, alternating in colors, and we're going to put our lazy daisy stitches in place to fill up the flower. From here on, we're going to go back to our first color, and you're going to keep alternating colors, moving from flower to flower. After you're done stitching a section with one color, remember to tie it off on the back of the sweater, or else the back of your sweater is going to become really messy and it can loosen over time. Once you've stitched the very last flower, then you're going to tie off your yarn. When tying off, remember to come underneath the stitches and then bring your needle through the loop and pull it tight into a knot. This next step is optional. If you want to add some greenery to your flowers, I'm going to teach you how. I like to use a darner's needle and a smaller medium weight yarn for this. For the greenery, we're going to make a lazy daisy stitch in between petals of our flowers. Just like the flower petals, we're going to make a loop and then we're going to secure the loop with a stitch. And that's basically it. You can work your way around the letters, adding about 2 to 3 to each flower. That's what I find looks good for my sweaters, and you're just going to keep working your way around the letter until you're done. When you've placed your last leaf, you're going to turn your sweater over and you're going to tie your knot just like normal. Now that we're done stitching, it's time to wash off the stabilizer. Using a stabilizer pattern is so amazing because it gives you that guide, but then you need to make sure to wash it off properly. I recommend rinsing your sweater for 3 to 5 minutes under running water and applying mild dish soap, working it into the stitches and making sure that you get underneath all of the stitches to get all of the stabilizer off. If you still see some stabilizer or any ink bleed, make sure to do this process one more time, making sure to rub the dish soap underneath the stitches. After that, we're going to take our sweater and we're either going to air dry or throw it in the wash. I just throw mine in the wash. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it helpful. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my Etsy shop to shop my kits and other patterns.